With that, I think we can probably go ahead and get started. So Quinn, thank you so much for being here today, and thank you for everyone who joined. Um, Today we're going to be talking about BentoML and creating an ML-powered prediction service in minutes. And Quinn, I think you also have like a demo people can follow along with, right? And we'll make sure to get that link out to everyone as well. Quinn is, well, she's written a lot of things. She's on Towards Data Science. If you're familiar with data science blogs, Towards Data Science is one of the top ones, and I know I'm on that one normally daily. But she's written over 150 data science articles and is also a developer advocate at Prefect, which is different than what we have on your bio, because I think that's something new. So Quinn, why don't you go ahead, if you have slides to share on the screen, why don't you go ahead and get those pulled up, and then I will hand it over to you and you can do your thing.
Yeah, thank you. So first of all, I want to check if you see my screen.
We can, yep.
Okay, so first of all, I just want to say thank you everybody for coming to this webinar. I know everybody is busy, so I really appreciate that you took the time to join me in this presentation. So my name is Quyên Trân, and today I will talk about how to build an ML powered service with BentoML. So to understand why this topic is important, let's start with a straightforward example. Imagine your company is using machine learning to segment customers based on their personal information. As a data scientist, you found a good machine learning model that did a pretty good job in segment customers, and your manager wants you to hand this to the web development team so that they can start deploying using your machine learning model. Like that. But how exactly can you hand this model over to your team members? So there's one straightforward way is, just hand them off your code and along with their requirements and expect them to set up the same environment as you did. This comes with a lot of difficulty for your teammates because first of all, they need to set up the right environment. And second, if they don't have the knowledge of the language you are using, and in this case, it can be Python, then it can be a bit hassle for them to try to figure out how to run your code and use your machine learning model. A better approach is to turn your machine learning model into an API endpoint. And what this means is that instead of giving them your code and requires them to set up the environment, you just need to give them a link and they will be able to use your machine learning model. And one way for you to turn your machine learning model into an API endpoint is to use BentoML. And BentoML is an open source Python library that allows you to build an API endpoint for your machine learning model in service. In this presentation, you're gonna learn how to do exactly that. To install BentoML, type pip install BentoML. And the version I'm gonna use in this presentation is 1.0.084. Make sure you install the right version so that the syntax is, you can run the syntax that I want to present. Okay, and I uploaded the code of this demo on GitHub, and you can find it on the message of the Zoom.
Yep, we're doing that right now. So,
okay.
So just everybody look out for that.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah, so let's start with a simple example. So we know how to use BentoML. So I'll start with a simple, a a typical Python script, right? This script is to process the data. So here I have some functions to process the data. You don't need to know the details. It just, yeah, some functions that you would do if you like you want to create a customer segmentation project. And but what I want you to pay attention here is that I use standard scalar to scale my data, and at the end I return a scalar. And the same with PCA, I use PCA to reduce the dimension of my data, and it's also a scikit-learn transformer. Since I apply the scalar and the PCA on my training data, I also want to apply the same processors on my my upcoming data. So I'm gonna save this in my local machine. I want to save it into some sort of storage. And BentoML allows you to save your model into BentoML local storage by using BentoML scikit-learn save. So this will save your scikit-learn transformers. And the first argument is the name of your scikit-learn object. And the second argument is the object itself. And we do the same thing here with PCA to save the PCA to BentoML local storage. And the next script is segment.py. And what this script does is it essentially just change your model. And here I use k-means to apply clustering on my data. And I also fit the training data and save it into BentoML local storage. And the name of my model is customer segmentation k-means. Okay, so now we are ready to run.
Quinn, can I interrupt you for a minute?
Yes.
Are you sharing the correct screen right now? Or are we supposed to be looking at something else? We're seeing your customer segmentation slide and end-to-end project on customer segmentation.
Okay, do you see my VS Code?
No.
No? Okay, let me share again.
And thank you to the person in the chat who
yeah, thank you.
Mentioned
I'm
that.
so sorry for that. Do you see this one now?
There it is. That looks better.
Okay. So I'm gonna just go back pretty quick on this. So I use BentoML scikit-learn save in order to save the scalars and the PCA, which are the two scikit-learn transformers to BentoML local storage. And in segment.py is a script to train the model. I also save the k-means object to BentoML local storage, and I name it as customer segmentation k-means. And now that I have the script, I'm gonna run the two. I'm gonna run process data first to save my scikit-learn transformers. Go back. Python source process. So you can see that we successfully save. The first one is a scalar and the second one is PCA, and each of them have their specific tag. And this is very helpful because if we have multiple version of scalar and multiple version of PCA, then we can go back to that specific version and we can like pick one version over another. And I'll also run segment.py to save my model into BentoML local storage. And it's successfully saved. Now, if I want to save my model in BentoML local storage, I can run BentoML models list. And you can see all of the models here. And these three are the latest one that we have just saved. Note that I have so many more versions of customer segmentation K-means, PCA, and scalar because I run this previously. But the advantage of this is that you can just take one and use it. Okay, so now we have learned how to save our models. The next thing we're gonna do is to learn how to create a service to turn our machine learning model into an API endpoint with BentoML. And I'll start with an empty script. So here we will import BentoML and we import pandas. Import NumPy. Okay. So the first thing we want to do is we want to load all of the models that we say previously, and I'll load scalar first, and to load BentoML local store an object in BentoML local storage, I will use BentoML scikit-learn load runner and the name of the object, and in this case is scalars, and I'll grab the latest version. Okay, and so since later we're gonna run scalar run data to transform our data, function name will determine which scikit-learn method that it will apply on your data. Since scalar is a transformers and the default BentoML is predict, we're gonna change this into transform. And we will do the same with PCA. I will also load the model, which is the K-means model, using BentoML scikit-learn load runner. And the name of the model is customer segmentation K-means. And I will also grab the latest version. And since this is an estimator, the function name predict is correct. So I'm not gonna change it. And the next thing I will do is to create a service. And to create a service, you will use BentoML service object. And the first argument is a name of your service. So I'll name it customer segmentation K-means, and all of the runners that you're gonna use. And in this case, it will be scalar, PCA, and model. Okay, now we have just created a service object. We are ready to use it to turn on to create an API function. An API function, what it does is take an input from users and it will produce an output. And I'll call my API function predict, and it will take a data frame. And it will output a NumPy array. And to turn this into a service function, I will add the decorator service.api with the first argument is in the input type. BentoML provide the built-in input type, which is NumPy ND array and pandas data frame. So since our input is a pandas data frame, I want to put pandas data frame object here. And since the output is a NumPy array, I will put the NumPy ND array object here. Okay, so now we're done setting up the API function. We will just add the content of this API function. First, when we have the input, we will start with processing the data. And once we finish with processing the data, we will use our model to predict the data. And to process the data, I will use my scalar object. I use run. So note that here we use run instead of transform, like how you would normally do with scikit-learn, because now it's a BentoML object, BentoML runner. And scalar run data frame will process your data frame. And this will return a NumPy array. And I will turn it into a pandas data frame because I want to use a pandas data frame later. So, and the columns is just the existing columns of my data frame. Okay, and the next thing I will do is to scale my to apply PCA on my data. And since I turn my multi-dimensional data into a three-dimensional data, there will only be 3 columns this time. And I will also use model to predict the data. So this will return an integer 0, 1, 2, or 3, which indicates which group the customer belongs to. And since it's an integer, I will turn it into a NumPy array using NumPy array prediction. Okay, so what we have just done is we basically just create a function to process and predict the data. Nothing new here. The only thing new here is we create service and we add it into the predict function to turn into a API function. So now that we have that set up, let's run, let's create a service with it. So first I go to the directory where my BentoML app.py is, and I run BentoML model, BentoML, BentoML serve, Bento app.py, and the name of the service, which is service. And I will add reload argument so that if I change anything in my local machine, my API will also reload automatically. Okay, so go to this website. And you can see that we have an API interface, and you can interact with your model by clicking try it out. And here you can put any input that you want and try out the model. I'll put a random input here. So what I essentially does here is to add the information of a customer, such as this customer have the income which is 58,000, and this customer visit the web twice per month, etc. And let's click execute to see which group does our machine learning model predict the customer to be in. Oh, there's an error. Oh, this should be columns. Let's rerun this again. And we have a 200 code. What this means is that the code runs successfully, and the response body is the output, and the output we have is 2. What this means is that our customer belongs to group 2. Okay. So right now, when we try out the API, it only gives us a basket. If you give this API to another developer, it could be hard for that developer to know which input they should put in this bracket. So we're going to improve upon it by using Pydantic. And what Pydantic can do for BentoML is that it will add the default values to BentoML input form. So we start with import base model from Pydantic. And I'll create a class called customer. This class inherits from base model. And here I will add the name of my columns, and it would be income. The data type, which is float, and the default values, which is any value that you want, but I'll just put 50,000 here. And to save time, I put the rest of the pair of columns and its default values here. Okay. And then instead of using a pandas data frame, we're going to use a JSON object. And we scroll down here. We replace it with JSON and specify Pydantic model equal customer. And we'll also replace the input type hint with customer. Okay. So now the only thing that we need to add here is to turn the customer object into a pandas data frame. Okay, so data. So we first turn it into a dictionary, and then we grab it around a pandas data frame object. Set index column. Index column equal 0 because we only have one row. Okay. So let's rerun this again and see if we have a different input form. So you can see that now we have default values. And if we click schema, we will have the information about each of the input form. And by looking at this, we will know, we have an idea of which value we should put in each column. So let's click try it out, and I'll replace the income with 50,000. and age with 27. And let's say family size is 1, enrollment years is 1, total purchase is 1, and click execute. And we get the response body is 2. So our API is working. Okay. But like, how do we actually use this API in a Python script? What you want to do is to copy and paste the link, and I'm in the local host 5000. Next, I will use the Python request library to request the output from the website. So I use request poll to request the output from this link, and I also put my data in here. And if we run this one, we should get the same output as we have on the API user interface. And what is convenient about this is now you just need to give this website, this link to your team members, and they can use your machine learning model without, touching any of the process data or the training data or your machine learning model file that you created previously. But if I give you this link, you will not be able to use it because it's the local host link. So our next task will be turn this one into a public link so that you can share this with your teammates. Okay. So to do that, let me move this one a little bit. So to do that, we're gonna start with building a bento. And what building a bento means is you're just gonna put up the requirements for your machine learning models and your machine learning model and your API into a container. Then after it's in a container, you can push it into some server, and just so that we can deploy it easily, I'm gonna push it into Heroku. So in the next few steps, you're gonna learn how to do exactly that. Start with running BentoML build. Oh, actually, before that, we will create a file called bentofile.yam. And in this file, we will have the name of the location of our service. And in this case, the location of our service is in source BentoML app.py, and the name of the service is service. Specify which file we should include in our app. And I want to include my BentoML app.py file. Under Python packages, we will specify all the packages that BentoML need in order to run your machine learning model. Okay, and that's it. Now we have the bentofile.yam set up. We're just gonna run BentoML build. Okay. And you will see something similar to this. This is the location of your BentoML. So let's check it out. I'm gonna go to that directory. Okay, so do you see my new VS Code workspace? Just double check. Is it a yes or no? Okay. Okay, yes. Okay, thank you. So we created a we had just gone to the workspace of the file that we had just created using BentoML build. And in this directory, you can see that we have APIs, which is a template for our API. And environment, here we have Conda, Docker, Python. If you use if you specify the environments in the Bento file .yam, you're gonna see some requirements here, but since we didn't do that, you don't see anything here. But if you click Python requirements.txt, you're gonna see all the requirements that we specified before. And if you click Docker, you can see that BentoML automatically created a Docker file for us. This is very convenient because if you don't know Docker, then this is handled by BentoML. Okay, and models just save up the model that we need to predict, to run prediction. And here is PCA, scalar, customer segmentation, k-means, source save out of the related files. And so you can see that with only one command, we created the entire directory, which would take a lot of time for you to create otherwise. Next, we're gonna deploy this we're gonna push up the source code in our local directory to Heroku so that we can use it. We can create a public link and share with your teammate. So start with login into Heroku. Okay, so this open a browser and I click login and it will log me in. And then since I use Heroku container, I will also run Heroku container login. And I just log in. The next thing is to create an app. So we're gonna create an app on Heroku so that we can push our code to the app. So I'll call my app customer segmentation. And since today is the 21st, so I call it customer segmentation June 21st and run Heroku create and the name of the app. So this will create an app called customer segmentation 6/21st. And then we will push our code to the website. Oh, we need to go to Docker directory and then we run this code. So this will push to Heroku app, and this will take a while, but essentially after this finished running, you can run Heroku container release. So this will release the website so that everybody can use it. Everybody can access your API endpoint on Heroku. And let's check out the website to see how it will look like. So we go to Heroku dashboard. And I created one in the previously. We're just gonna click on this. It should look similar to the one that we are creating. Click open app. Okay, this will take several seconds. I don't know what take quite a bit of time. Okay. No, that doesn't work. Let's go to another one. This one. No, this one. 6. Open app. Okay, this one is showing now. So you can see that we got the same interface that we got previously in our local machine. So if we click predict and we click, let's say try it out and execute, we're gonna have an output. This is nice because so with this, you can share this link with your teammate and they can access it from another machine. Okay, so let's test this out by replace our localhost link here with the new link that we had just created. Okay, and let's run the predict file. Oh, need to go back to my current directory. Then when we run this, we're gonna have an output, and that works. So, so right now, that's all you need to know to create an API endpoint. But you may say this interface look a little bit boring, and it's fine. You can just give this to your teammate, and they can develop a nice user interface. But if you want to create a small app so that you can showcase with your managers or your teammates, I'll show you how to do that with Streamlit. And what Streamlit is, it's just a Python library that allows you to create a web application very easily. So let me explain this code in a high level. What I do here is I create the title for my website, and I also create the input forms so that user can input their information in for each of the column. And then after I have all the input from the users, if they click the button, get the cluster of this customer, and of the if none of the forms are empty, then I can proceed with turning the data into a JSON object and then run request dot post like what we did previously. And once we get the output, which is a prediction, we just gonna write the output so that people know which group the customer belong to. And just to go a little bit more details into what this code does, Streamlit number input just create an number input form. The first argument is income. The second argument is the minimum value of the input value. Since income cannot be negative, we have the mean value to be 0. Step equal 500 means that if the user click plus, then if the current value is 0, it will jump to 500. And the value just specify the default value of income. Help specify the help message when user hover their mouse to the input form. So let's run this and see how the interface look like. And to run this file, we're gonna use Streamlit run and then the name of the file. Okay, and go to localhost. And you will see something like this. This looks so much nicer than what we had before. And it also more intuitive to play with. So let's try some values. So let's add some more income to this customer. and we're gonna set the age to be 27, and a total purchase is to be, let's say, 10, and family size to be 2, so that 2 family members, and run get cluster of this customer, and it tells you that this customer belongs to cluster 0. Okay, so in this presentation, just a recap, you have just learned how to turn your ML model into an API endpoint so that you can deliver your ML model to your teammate without the need of them to set up the environment or messing with your Python code. And yeah, so that's the end of the presentation. Thank you for listening.
Okay, thanks, Quinn. If anybody has any questions, why don't you go and post those in the Q&A tab? I know we have a couple already, so Quinn, I don't know if you want to open the tab, or do you want me to read them out to you? I can do whatever you prefer.
Can you read it out for me?
Sure.
That's quite a bit of question, so.
Sure. Yeah, so for the first one, this is from Roya. So Roya wants to know how you created the Swagger page, which I think was the first one that you showed us.
Yeah, this one. This one, right? I use Canva.
Okay.
So it's Canva.
Yep, we use that too.
Cool.
So if you're not familiar with Canva, it's just a free graphic design resource for people who aren't graphic designers, is how I would describe it. Definitely check that out. All right. So how would you compare, and this is from, sorry, I'm not going to try and pronounce your name. I don't want to butcher it. How would you compare BentoML to ML flow serving?
I don't think I'm familiar with ML flow serving. Does it like create an API endpoint as well?
Trung, can you mention that in the chat, and maybe we can, or add on to your question, and then we can try to get that answered. And I think you probably answered this in your presentation towards the end when you created that space for your colleagues, right? To not butcher your code. But this is from Ahmed. I'm guessing Ahmed is on one of our live streams. And Ahmed wants to know, why are you using BentoML instead of using sklearn directly?
Okay, so and I think what he can you say the name again?
Ahmed.
Yeah, I think what Ahmed mean is that, like, why don't you just pickle your scikit-learn model and then use it for your to serve your machine learning model, and that works. But as I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, you need to give the person who gonna use your if you're gonna pickle your scikit-learn model, you need to give them your pickle files, require them to set up the requirements, and if they use a different machine, then it could be different for them to run your model. And also, like, if a lot of time there will be cases when the web developers don't know how to use Python. So if you give them your Python files and expect them to like set the environment and everything, is a lot of hassle for them, versus you just give them an API link. And I think I show you in this presentation that before to create an API link, you need to containerize your code. So this should be able to, you should be able to get the same output in any machine without setting up the environment as you would do if you just send your scikit-learn model.
Okay, and then Trung, going back to ML flow serving, Trung mentioned that It does similar things, but not flexible when it comes to model versioning. And I think you're like, this will just be a hard question to answer because neither of us are familiar with ML flow serving. So sorry, Trung, I think we're like, just for the sake of time or until one of us is familiar with ML flow serving, I don't think we're going to be able to like do justice to your questions. So I think for now, maybe we
Yeah,
should skip
sorry.
it.
Yeah, I wish I know the answer,
Yeah.
but I'll do more research on this.
Okay. And maybe that's the next title of your blog post is
Yeah.
BentoML versus ML flow serving.
Yeah, I think so.
And then Deepak from, I'm guessing this is from another live stream. They say, hi all, what's the best tool for model monitoring and deployment and model serving too?
Oh, so he won best of all places?
What's your, let's say, what's your favorite? Because I think best is, we're always going to be opinionated. So what's your favorite?
So the question is, what is the best tool for model monitoring, right? Plus serving.
And deployment. Yep.
And deployment. I think that will come to ML flow. But like if you want to do all of those, I haven't this play with ML flow serving. But what I often do when I do machine learning monitoring, like experiment checking, is to use either ML flow or weights and biases.
Okay.
Yeah, and the pros, I guess I just quickly compare between like monitoring between ML flow and weight and biases. ML flow like is have a lot of functionalities, but for weights and biases, it show very nice graphs automatically without you need to do a lot of coding to get up those dashboard. So if you want like nice dashboard to compare between different experiments, then weights and biases can be a good option.
Okay, perfect. And I think that is all of our questions, at least that I can see. So Quinn, thank you for being here today. I'm just going to take 1 second before we close out here to mention today's the 21st. Yep, to mention our event tomorrow. And we'll get our faces out of there. And so tomorrow we'll have Christian Walker, the founder of Datanizing GmbH. He's going to be doing a talk on trend analysis using unstructured data from Wall Street Bets. This is also going to be a tutorial style, I'll say, webinar. So you should be able to follow along, do the demo, and all that good stuff as well. And we're going to be using data from Reddit in order to do that. So join us tomorrow, June 22nd, 12 p.m., same time as today, and meet Christian Walker, who's a really, really cool dude. And so Quinn, thank you again for being here. We will have the recording up shortly, and we will share that with everyone once it's made available. And thank you all for coming here and joining us today. And I hope to see you tomorrow or at some of our other events. So Quinn, have a good rest of your day. Enjoy St. Louis. Hopefully you get to go to that park that you were mentioning earlier.
Yeah, Forest Park, in case you want to go to.
In case anybody else is in St. Louis.
Yeah.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.